here. Be sure to stick around to the end of today's video where I'm going to be announcing another winner of the pre-order giveaway. Yet again, I'm going to have to apologize for weird lighting. I've only been able to film at 8 or 8:30 in the morning because of school and work and all that, so again, I apologize for the weird lighting. I know it's like weird, but I'm sorry. Today, I'm going to be talking about the best ways to start a chapter. This is something that kind of comes to me in the moment, or I kind of have to plan in advance for, because the thing is, people know how to start a book. There's a lot of great ways to start books, and I feel like that's pretty widely talked about, but you should be continuing to keep your reader engaged and interested throughout all the chapters of your story, and I think adding in some quirky chapter starters is a really great way to do that. So I'm gonna give you a couple of examples of great ways to start your chapters. Number one best way to start your chapter is with movement. This can either be with movement of a scene, so for example, if weather plays an important part to your story, talking about movement of wind or weather or the sky, clouds in the sky, things like that. The second easy way to do movement is movement of characters. If the last chapter ended as an action sequence, you can talk about someone running or walking. The other thing is if there's an animal in your story, you can find an interesting way to describe their movement, and I think that's another great way to just add some interest and overall just some interesting stuff in your story. Number two is pretty standard. It's to start with dialogue. I think one of the coolest ways to start dialogue is actually in the middle of a conversation, because you don't want to waste time with all of those boring introduction moments or just boring getting into the meat of the conversation. If you're having the reader jump into the conversation halfway and having to decipher who's talking, why they're talking, what the importance of this conversation is, it's much more interesting than just telling the reader everything. So for example, if two friends are talking about how two of their friends have crushes on each other, it's a lot more interesting to jump in the middle of the conversation than, for example, start at the beginning and say, "Hello, how are you? I'm doing well. Have you seen Jack lately? Oh yeah, he is totally head over heels for Mary. Oh yeah, when are they gonna talk to each other?" Like, it just saves so much more time if you jump into it rather than starting at the beginning, if that makes sense. Number three is kind of weird, and it has to be circumstantial, and that's to make a complete 180 in tone. Now, it's kind of hard to explain, but if I don't brag on myself too much, I actually did a perfect example of this in Missing Her. So I'm gonna read that for you now. Basically, in Missing Her, there is a huge climax moment where the police were just called, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it's very crazy, it's violent, it's high tension, all of this stuff, and the chapter ends, and the reader is assuming that something big is gonna happen next chapter, or they're gonna continue the story, and instead I started with something very different. And if you end up doing one of these 180-degree turns, you want it to almost come back to the original theme in an interesting and creative way. So again, instead of just starting in the moment, it's much more interesting for your reader to read something that isn't expected and kind of surprises them in the end. So let me explain. The chapter starts, "One of my favorite scents has got to be the musky smell right after rainfall. My AP Environmental Science teacher explained that the smell is actually pollen and organic particles kicked up by the fallen water, but the less than appealing description doesn't take away from how soothing the smell is. Even if the sidewalks are dry and the moisture has long since evaporated, if you smell that signature scent, your mind automatically says rain. When I opened my eyes to the darkness, the scent that met my nose screamed fear. It was a putrid, hot mixture of body odor, dust, and metal. No, not metal, blood." So you see, I started the chapter and you think you know where it's going and you're confused and you're like, okay, how does talking about the smell of rain connect anything to what was going on? And then you see that I'm connecting it to the smelling something and automatically knowing it says rain, to the smelling this disgusting mixture and automatically saying fear. So that's where the connection was. But again, if you can find a way to do a 180-degree twist into your story as a chapter starter, A+, highly recommend. And last but not least, this is kind of similar to the 180, but overall it's make your reader ask questions. Again, throwing your reader into the middle of an argument, a situation, a scene is much more interesting than starting it at the beginning and having no idea what's going on. I've seen a lot of stories do this where again, you're in this super interesting storyline and then all of a sudden you switch to this new perspective, this new character, and it's up to the reader to figure out how this character and this storyline connects to the overall plot. Now you have to be careful with this because you don't want to annoy your reader with like randomly switching perspectives all the time because that can drive me crazy. But if it's thrown in there randomly, or like for Missing Her, it doesn't last too long and it's like kind of brief and then continues to move on, it can work in your favor. So that's all I have for you guys today. Do you have any other recommendations on how to start your chapters in an interesting way? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear them. And now I'm going to be announcing another winner of the pre-order giveaway. This person is going to be receiving a merch bundle with merch from Missing Her, The Scavenger, and Awaited Soul. So it is just an awesome package of cool stuff. So yeah, let's get to that name. And the winner of the pre-order giveaway for today is this person. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy your merch bundle and of course, Awaited Soul. Thank you for stopping by.